I'm on module 4, club leadership. After that, we cover 5 and hopefully cover 6 as well. Now, club leadership really means staffing, okay, the officers as well as. Now, I will tell you there is a difference between what we call the club officers and the unit leaders, okay. I don't want, you can also call them unit officers if you want, and that specifically refers to the club, the unit captain and scribe. Okay, so let me tell you there is a big difference between the club officers and the unit leaders, because in a real sense, the unit leaders are not club officers, okay. All right, now this is the so-called insignia that all club officers, now remember I used the word club officers, will wear. Now, traditionally, it is always worn on the right sleeve, okay, just below your club name. So you have your club name, let's just say your name is Cape Town or Sharjah or Abu Dhabi, and just underneath there, you will put one of this. Now, you can only wear one. Now, I noticed when I travel around, they have been places where they want to put all the different, what do you call that, office they have covered before, or maybe simultaneously, but the truth is you can only wear one. So please do not have the habit of having director, counselor, and instructor 3 in one row. All it takes is it should be worn on your right sleeve. Now, I also notice quite increasingly in some of the places I travel, some of them wear this on the above the right pocket, okay, your uniform right pocket. That is actually wrong. The correct way to wear the so-called officer strip, any of this. Now, by the way, this one is from America, so it has got a black back outline. Most of the time it's like this with a gold outline. So I'll explain to you what each of these are. All right, now in some places like America, they have actually even created new positions, like for example, honors coordinator. Now this is not a standard, what I call club office. It's not one of the club officers, but you can, if you want, if you feel a need, there's a specialist. Your club is extremely big, and this guy, his main job is to coordinate all the honor activity. That's fine. And likewise, if you have a dedicated person who's teaching you drill, you can also have what we call a drill instructor. Then you have the rest are simply honors instructor and classes instructor. And likewise, you also see that there is a pastor, for the church pastor, who like to distinguish himself from the one who's volunteering for all the spiritual activities, and that would be the club chaplain. So that's why in some places you have even more of these club officers. Now, including one very special one. You see here, associate director, and then you also see here, deputy director. Now, is there a difference? Yes, there is a difference. That in a place where you have many Pathfinder members, so huge, right? Then you have got several deputies, okay? So traditionally, you only have 2 deputies, but in a club that is so huge, you have several deputies. And the one who's really assistant to the director, that would be the associate director. So in a sense, this would be higher than the deputy director. Okay, with that, just to show you the variety that you find if you travel. I've been to many countries, and I've seen for myself all the different ranks, or what we call officers insignia. All right, first of all, let me tell you how the club is organized at the local church level before I go into the world level, okay? So the club church level, at the highest level, all church activity is always governed by the church board, which is why you always need to seek permission from the church board, especially as you plan your camping activity, as you secure budgeting, all right, and as you nominate names for people to serve next year and so on, right? So the church board is the one that approves the starting of the club and so on, which I will talk about later. Now then, in each club, you must have what we call an executive committee, which is really the committee made up of the club director, the deputy directors, the counselors, and if possible, the pastors and the chaplain. So that would be the executive committee. So often we call it the exco. Then, of course, the one that running the show, who organize, who call for the meeting, all right, who has the power to call for a meeting, he is the club director. And again, I will go into all the specific duties of each one of them. I'm just giving you a breakdown of all the different officers within the so-called organization chart. Now, under the club directors, you have people helping him. you have the instructors who can be instructor for the honors, as well as instructor for the progressive classes, or we call it the Chaplain classes, friend, companion, all the way to guide. Now then you have the deputy directors. Normally we have two. One will be in charge for ladies, one for the men. One will serve as a secretary, the other will serve as a treasurer, and so on. Then you have the club chaplain. This is very important, that there should be someone devoted to spiritual activities and the spiritual affairs of the club. And then, depending on how big your club is, you divide your members into units. So for every unit between 4 to 8 members, you have a counselor who is actually the leader, the adult leader for this unit. So you have the counselors, and then you have all the unit members, all right? So you have unit 1, unit 2, and unit 3. So if there are 3 units, you should have 3 counselors. And all these counselors are actually Pathfinder officers. Now, then you have the apprentice, who are the junior counselors. These are the ones who are assistant to the counselor, right? Especially when your unit is big, you may have up to maybe 8 members or even 10. Usually we don't recommend that. Maximum should be 8. But when you feel a need, then you have a junior counselor to assist the counselor, and I explain to you what his duties are. So all these that are colored from the junior counselor, instructor, all this from club director down to the junior counselor, they are what we call club officers. But then the unit captain and the scribe, which rotates every 6 months, so the captain is never permanent. Usually we recommend that he only serve for 6 months, so that everybody get a chance, and then the scribe will become the captain, and everybody will get a chance to become captain and scribe. These are unit officers or unit leaders. They are not club officers. So that's why they wear a badge on above the right pocket, okay, which either say captain or scribe, and they don't wear captain or scribe on their right sleeve. Now, all these people above, they wear their rank on the right sleeve, right? So this is the structure, the organization structure within the church level. Now, let me tell you at the world level. All right. Now, at the world level, let me start off from the bottom where the club begins. Of course, you have the club director who calls the shot. And in the situation where the club is very big, where the church has got both Adventure Club as well as a Pathfinder Club, then to coordinate the activity between the two clubs, you have what we call an administrative director. So when you see the position called administrative director, usually it means there is 2 clubs, both an adventurer and a Pathfinder Club, right? And in some instances, there's even a Master Guide Club, which is a very unusual thing. Technically, there is no such thing as a Master Guide Club, but it's okay to organize one for the benefit of Master Guides who do not meet as regular as the regular club. Theirs is more for fellowship and also for upgrading purposes to enhance their skill and so on. Now, at the district level, in countries where you have so many Pathfinders, then the churches are all put into zones or areas, or we call them district. And the person who is appointed as the area coordinator, also called district director. Now, in Australia, when I was there, the term that they use is district director. So when I first went there, I was not sure what that was. And then I discovered district director is just another word for area coordinator. Now, these are the ones who are to be appointed by your conference. All right, so this is not chosen by the area themselves. They can submit names to the conference youth director, or the mission youth director, or the field youth director, depending on how it's called in your area. And in consultation with the local churches, several churches in one area, the name is submitted and the conference approved. And this person is the area coordinator or the district director for that district. Now then, at the conference level, at the mission or the conference level, there is what we call a Pathfinder Council. And the club, the conference youth director, otherwise we also have a conference Pathfinder director. He is the chair of the conference Pathfinder Council. So the Pathfinder Council is almost like the church board, but this is at the district level, conference level. And every year, hopefully every 6 months or so, he will invite all the area coordinators or all the different zone or district directors to meet once every 6 months to plan the activities and the coordinate activities for all the various areas. Okay, so that's why we have a Pathfinder Council. All right. Now, of course, I should also mention that within the area or the district, that you can also have what we call a district council. And so when you have a district council, all the different club directors will belong to the district council or the area council. And above it, the conference council, the Pathfinder Council. And as I told you, the one who supervises the work in the conference, of course, is the conference director. And then in areas where the conferences are organized under the union, then you have the union director. Now, I was the union Pathfinder director for 15 years, and you can tell that a person, the union Pathfinder director, because he'll be wearing on above his shoulder, the epaulet, sometimes it's called a shoulder board. And when you see somebody wearing 3 stripes, or in some cases 3 stars, that means he's the union Pathfinder director. At the conference level or at the field level, they'll be wearing 2 stripes or 2 stars. And those at the area coordinator, as well as the admin director, local club director, they wear 1 stripe or 1 star. Then above the union, we have 13th World Division, and each of the division, they wear 4 stripes. So the union comes under the division. So technically, the union work in harmony with the division. And of course, the 13th Division activities are supervised by the General Conference Pathfinder Director, otherwise called the World Pathfinder Director. Okay, so this is how the organization structure looks like within the framework of the world. All right. Okay, now let me go into each of the duties because I've got a lot of grounds to cover. So I will have to go very fast. If any question, please ask me at the end of it. Now, starting with the area coordinator, as I told you, there's another name for it, and that's called the district director. Now, in Australia, all the district director, you can tell, they wear this, anyone who wears red is a counselor. And then you can see this person wearing 1 stripe. Now, this brother, who originally was from Singapore, he has migrated oh, sorry, I beg your pardon. I can't remember how it's being, oh yeah, he wears the word, the rank here, district director here, I beg your pardon. All right, so this brother used to be from Singapore, now he lives in Sydney, he's a teacher there. He's a very good friend of mine. So from him, I learned that in Australia, the word they use is not area coordinator, but district director, which is really the same thing. This person is appointed by the conference, and in a sense, he represents the conference as he go around to all the different churches within his district, right, to help them. So he represents the conference Pathfinder director as he's appointed by the conference, right, and he coordinates the Pathfinder activities of the different clubs within the district. That's why he should be calling for what I call the district council, get all the club directors to meet, and they try to plan coordinated activities for the year. So therefore, there is synergy, there is working together with the different clubs. Maybe you can have a club, an area or district Pathfinder Fair, or district Pathfinder Camporee, or district Pathfinder Training for officers, or Master Guide course, or whatever. And then in consultation with the club directors, remember, he is in charge of many, many churches, okay? Right? With the different church club director, he plans the main events and activities, especially training seminars, Pathfinder Fair, and Pathfinder camps, right? Or the district level Pathfinder Day celebration. Now, sometimes you can have all the clubs within the district celebrating the Pathfinder Day together. Now, he represents all the clubs in his district at the conference Pathfinder Council. So he is the one when there is a conference Pathfinder Council, he represents all the churches club directors. So you feedback to him, and he feedback to the conference Pathfinder director during the Pathfinder Council. All right, so that's the area coordinator. Usually you can see his very one bar here, and you will see the word area coordinator, right? Now let me talk about the administrative director. This is in the event where you have got both director for the Pathfinder Club and one for the junior club, which is the Adventure Club. So that's why we're in a situation where you have 2 clubs. Sometimes you advise, it's not always necessary, but we do advise to have an administrative director who supervises and coordinates the activities between two clubs so that there is synergy and that there is no clash of events, no clash. When I say clash of events, especially when the Pathfinder Club plans a camp and the Adventurer also plan a camp without each consulting each other. And these are the same tents the church provides. So then you've got a problem, who has the right to use a tent? That's why it's good to have an administrative director who plans the activity, who in consultation with these two club directors, plans the activity so that there's harmony and there's no clash of scheduled events, all right? So he or she coordinates the activities of both the Adventurer and the Pathfinder Club, getting the two to work together as one. And he or she will represent both clubs in the church board. So he or she will be the representative of the church board. And he or she should be conducting a bi-monthly, every 2 months, Adventurer and Pathfinder council meeting. In other words, get the leaders from both clubs to discuss how they can coordinate with it. If you can't do it every 2 months, perhaps once a quarter, so that there is understanding between two clubs. Now, in many churches, when you have two clubs, they actually have the same opening ceremony. Okay, so sometimes they will sing both the Adventure song followed by the Pathfinder Club song. So all this require coordination. Okay, now the administrative director, if he is really responsible, will study each club program and suggest recommendation for improvement, because this person usually is quite experienced. That's why he's administrative director, and as he move around this club and move around this club, he will know what are the strengths and weaknesses and what are the suggestions he could recommend to them. And of course, he is the bridge between both clubs, so he builds a happy relationship between the two clubs so that both works together, and so there's no clash, especially in terms of time, in terms of sharing resources and so on. Now, he will also plan an ongoing training for the staff officers from both clubs, because training is very essential. Officers from both clubs ought to be trained from one level to another level. And since he's the administrative director, he or she will be responsible for sending the monthly, depending on your conference, either monthly or quarterly report to the conference youth department, because usually they will send you a form in which they're supposed to say what are classes you completed, how many honors, how many people baptized, how many new members, and so on. So that report the conference require, because they will need to report it at the year-end meeting. Now, the administrative director is what I call a stand-in person. When the club director for the Pathfinder Club is sick, the admin director can step in to be the club director during that period. Or if the Adventure Club director is sick, the admin director can step in to stand in, all right, for during that emergency. Now, because the administrative director works directly under the area coordinators, right, and also under the conference director, he is the person who will help channel whatever policies have been voted at the conference level, right? So whatever policy been voted at the high level, it will be passed to him, and he will pass down to the officers under him, all right? So he helps to channel whatever policies have been voted. All right, now let me talk about the club director itself. Now, the club director is a very important person. So we have two requirements with regards to the Pathfinder director. Now, even though I didn't mention it here, but please write that down since it's not here in the notes. First of all, this person ought to be a very matured, emotionally stable person, okay? Because there is a lot of stress involved. So the club director has to be a very emotionally stable person, not too young a person, hopefully an adult, and then he ought to be a master guide, or at least working for the master guide as soon as possible if he's not master guide. And very importantly, all club director must be baptized member of the church. Because why? Because this is a church activity sponsored by the church, and he sits in the church board, right? So the club director should be a Seventh-day Adventist, a baptized Seventh-day Adventist members. So what is his job? Direct the activities of the club, call for the meeting, organize the meeting, and arrange for each club meeting. And he decide which day to meet, which time to meet, right? And whether that day will be wearing uniform or the regular uniform, which we call the A uniform, or the T-shirt, the B uniform, okay? So he calls the shot, okay? Now, he sees that the club reaches its objectives and the goals for that year. So the buck stopped at him. When you start off the year, you plan the activities and the aims and the goals. At the end of the year, he evaluates to see whether the club reached those objectives. For example, this year we will teach 8 Pathfinder honors. So at the end of the year, the question must be asked, was that 8 honors actually taught, right? If it says at the end of this year, those friends, people in the friend class would have become companion. Now, was this achieved? Now, these are all questions to be asked at the end of the year. So he sees to the fact that club reaches the objective. Together, in consultation with his officers, which include the deputies, the counselors, the instructors, he will plan the total program for the year. Now, this is very essential. Sometime in December or perhaps the month of January, this should be planned. You should not be planning quarter by quarter. You should be planning a yearly program. Now, then you have the Pathfinder Executive Committee. He is the chair. The club director is the chairman of the Pathfinder Club Committee or the Executive Committee. And when you do not have 2 clubs, as what I shared just now, where Adventurer and the Pathfinder, where the administrative director would then be the church board member. When you don't have that situation, or rather, if the church allows, then even the Pathfinder Club director will become a member of the church board together with the administrative director, together with the Adventurer Club director. So all depend on your church board, right? If the church board think there are too many, then only the administrative director will be in the board. So all depends. Now, the club director is very important. He sets the example of the conduct expected of a Pathfinder. He has to be early, all right? If the club's meeting starts at 3 o'clock, he's already in the parade ground with his whistle, and then you blow the whistle and say, fall in, and everybody fall in according to the command, the order given by the club director. He will be wearing a splendid uniform. He's smart, right? He is punctual. He is an example, all right, of the conduct expected of Pathfinder director. Now, he keep in touch with the conference youth director or the mission youth director and submit reports to him if this is not being done by the administrative director. All right. Now, let me come to the deputies. As I said, the deputies, all depending on the size of your club members. If it is too big, then you may have more than 1 or 2 deputies, okay? Normally, we usually have only 2. One for 1 deputy for in charge of the boys and 1 in charge of the girls, all right? So, and then 1 will be the secretary, usually the ladies, and 1 will be the treasurer, usually the men. But of course, like I said, you can switch around, doesn't matter. So the deputy director share leadership responsibility with the director and accept assignment given by the club director, okay? And he takes charge of the club in the absence of the director. If the director is sick, the deputy will be called in to take over the club during the time. And if the club director is too busy to be the church board, the club director can ask the deputy to represent him in the church board meeting, all right? So that's the duty of the deputy director, okay? All right. Now, this now is, to me, the most important officer in the club. And why do I say so? Yes, even though the counselor is only in charge of between 4 to 8 members, but to tell you the truth, the one who is closest to the Pathfinders is actually the unit counselor. He is the advisor to the unit, and he or she should know his members so well. He or she serve as their listening ear. This person ought to be the closest to the Pathfinder, camps with them, hikes with them, right? Visit their homes. You know, a good club director, good counselor really know his unit members inside out, right? And helps the Pathfinder within his or her unit to bond together, especially new members, to get this new member integrated, assimilated, to be bonded with the rest of the club, the units, okay? Right? Now, the counselors enable any new member to fit into the club by teaching them the basics of Pathfindering. And now, when I say basic of Pathfindering, the Pathfinder song, the aim, the pledge, the motto, the law, how to do drill marching, left turn, right turn, that kind of thing. The counselor has to orientate all new members who have joined his or her unit. And when the Pathfinder do their class work, usually the counselor will be there to help them to make sure they complete their classwork, doing their friend class, the companion class, and so on, or to do their honor study, right? If they're studying about mammals, that this counselor make sure that these members within his unit is actually doing all the homework. Now, the last one is very important. Keep record of merit points earned by the Pathfinders. Now, this is important. I will talk about the merit system later on, okay? Now, a good club will have what we call a merit system, in which we give out points in at least 5 areas. Number 1, faithful attendance and punctuality. That at 3 o'clock, if your club starts at 3 o'clock, and when they fall in, then you give them points for being there. Second thing, we also check on their uniform, especially the uniform inspection. When they're required to wear uniform, did they wear their uniform? That would be another thing we look for. Number 3, have they been faithful in so-called submitting their club dues? Because club dues or club fees is a very important responsibility. So the Pathfinder makes sure that he brings the club fees at the appointed time. So that we also give merit points for that. Okay, number 4. The 4th thing that we give out merit points are for work done. I'm talking about that this person has truly finished all his honor requirement and finished all his class requirement. And so if he does that, he will get the full 20% or whatever percent you assign for that category. Remember, each of the category you have points. How many points for uniform, how many points for attendance, how many points for classwork, and what else did I say now? Uniform, attendance, classwork, right? Oh, what was that? Yeah, submission of club dues, right? You give points for all these things. So from there, we can see whether the Pathfinder have reached the point. And the last thing is for good conduct and good behavior. If this person have never been naughty, no demerit, then the person at the end of the year will get his full 20 points or whatever that is allocated for good conduct. So at the end of the year, the counselor will say, you know, this Pathfinder member has got 100 or what 75 out of the 100 points, which is good, right? Therefore, I recommend this person for the good conduct ribbon or whatever. To get the good conduct ribbon, usually you must at least score 75% of the total 100 points available. All right. Okay. The junior counselor. Now, this person is a counselor in training. Okay. So this person is being trained and apprenticed directly under the counselor. So to do that, the counselor occasionally will give and assign duties to the junior counselor. So the junior counselor is an assistant to the counselor in the unit. So he or she accept assignment and perform tasks given by the counselor, and he or she will stand in for the counselor when the counselor is absent. So when the counselor is absent, immediately the junior counselor become the counselor for that day. And the whole idea of the junior counselor is this: we are preparing this person to eventually become the counselor. That's why we ask this person to serve as a junior counselor for the period of 6 months to 1 year. And when you find the person responsible and that he is now knowledgeable, his experience, we recommend that next year he will become the counselor of the new Pathfinder unit, or to replace another counselor if the other counselor wants a rest. All right. Now this is after a period of mentoring. So junior counselors are being mentored to be a full counselor. Okay, after a period of time. Now the last, sorry, there are 2 more. Then there's also the chaplain. I forgot. Now then we talk about the instructor. This is also, in a sense, a club officer, okay? That's why they also wear this on their right sleeve. This person must be very knowledgeable. When you are asked to teach something, you had better research and source for the material to teach your Pathfinder, especially the latest and the newest, okay? And you should know all the requirements for that honor or all the requirements for that class to be able to teach with authority, with confidence. Right? So make sure you teach all of the requirements if you're asked to be the instructor, okay, for whatever project, whether it's an honor or for a class. Now, if you teach the honor, you then set the test questions. So the quiz or the exam is being set by you, and you are the one who grade the test papers. Okay. Now in Pathfindering, the standard is this: that for all honors, the passing grade is 75% out of the total 100. So if anybody failed to get 75, then the person sit for a retest, and if there's a retest, then the score goes up to 85%. In others, is even higher because this is a retest. So hopefully everybody passes at the first go without having to go for the retest. So the instructor set the test and grade the test. Now then he's the one who sign and record the completion of each of the Pathfinder classes of honor. So if you issue an honor certificate, then the instructor signs it. Now here's the point. If the instructor is not yet a master guide, no doubt he may be teaching it, he signs, but it has to be countersigned by a master guide. So because his signature is not valid in a way of speaking, it should be that of a master guide, but because he's an instructor, he's allowed to sign, but then another master guide must sign beside it to confirm what he has done. Now, the instructor sometimes can also serve as a counselor at the same time. So sometimes you have a situation where the counselor is also at the same time instructor. Again, that depends on the staffing and the number of people you have in your club. All right. Now then, yeah, I already mentioned this. Okay. Now let me talk about the last of the club officers, the spiritual director or the chaplain. This chaplain can sometimes be the church pastor, but it may not necessarily be a church elder or someone who is regarded as a spiritual example may be asked to serve as the chaplain. And the chaplain essentially is a spiritual advisor and the worship coordinator for the club. Most of the time, he will be the one giving the devotional talk, or he can arrange for people to give the devotional talk. And later on, when I talk about the programming, I need to tell you the devotion should not be long. It should never be more than 50 minutes, and it should be interesting, usually a story or something like that, or the explanation of Bible text with a lot of illustration. Now, the chaplain can also be an instructor for any honors that is spiritual, that has got a spiritual aspect to it, like any of the honors that is ministerial or missionary ministerial type, ministry type, then the chaplain may be called in to teach their honor. For example, junior witness, that kind of honors, which are missionary endeavor type. All right, endeavors type. Now, and then for the class requirement, whether it's a friend class, companion guide, when it comes to the spiritual component, sometimes we can ask the chaplain to teach that requirement aspect, which has to do with the Bible, the spiritual component within the progressive class, the friend, companion, all the way to guide. Now, as I said just now, the chaplain can be the church pastor, but not necessary so. But I would highly recommend that we ask the church pastor to be the chaplain, because that way the club, the church will be supported by the Pathfinder, by the church pastor. All right, now with that, all right, I have actually covered up to here all the officers of the club level, the club director, the deputies, the counselors, the instructors, and the chaplain, as well as the junior counselor. So let me tell you, this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So these 6 different ranks are all club officers. But then the unit leaders, the captain and scribe, they are unit officers, but they are not club officers. So make sure you do not call them club officers, because they are not, right? These are actually Pathfinder themselves, and their responsibility is usually between 6 months, 6 months to 3 months. We want to rotate them all the time. So a person should not be the captain forever, all right? Okay, so let me now come to the captain and scribe, okay? All right, the unit captain, okay? Each unit will have a captain who will be usually standing in front, followed by the scribe, followed by all the members behind, and the last person there is the club counselor, who is actually a club officer, all right? So the person right in front of each unit standing is always the club captain. Now, he is the unit leader of that unit between 4 to 8 members. and his position or her position is changed every quarter, every 3 months, or every 6 months, so that everybody within the unit get a chance to become a captain. And likewise, it's the same thing with scribe, the secretary. Everybody also get a chance. So this position is being rotated every 6 months or every quarter, right? Now, when you have a camp, or when you are marching, or especially when there's a camp, he will be the one carrying the unit flag, which is known as the guidon. Okay, so the unit guidon is actually being carried by the captain. So all those people standing in front should be carrying the flag of the unit, the guidon. Now, then during reporting of attendance, which we call the roll call, the attendance report. Now, he is the one, the unit captain should be the one who will report to the director. So if I'm the director, I say, Unit 1, report your attendance. And then this person will say, Unit 1 reporting, all present, sir. Right? Now, that is provided all your members are present. So if all your members are present, then only you can report all present, sir. Now, if 2 persons is absent, then when I said Unit 1 report, the captain will reply, Unit 1 reporting, 2 absent, sir. Now, if never say all absent, sir, that will be ridiculous. Because if the captain himself is around, then it can't be that all are absent. Even though you may be the only one present and all your members are missing, still you should not be reporting all absent, sir, because the captain itself is a member of the unit. So then he will say 6 absent, sir. All right. Okay. Now you either reply all present, or you mention how many are absent. And then the third way to report. Now this one I hope you remember. Okay. I will probably cover it under drill marching. Okay. The third way to report is this. At the time of the roll call, where the club director said, attention, so everybody has fallen in, and then he said, unit captain report. Now, the unit captain looked around, and then he saw that his friend, or the person that he knew, is indeed present, but may, for some reason is still in the toilet or in the changing room. So technically, that person cannot be reported as absent, because that person is actually present, but failed to be in parade, right? Was not assembled during the time of the roll call. So what the unit captain can say during that time is that he will say, Unit 1 reporting, all accounted for, sir. That means all his members are around, even including the person who's still in the toilet. So the correct reply, the third way to reply is all accounted for, sir. Accounted means I can tell where they are. I'm responsible. I know where they are. So the third way to report is Unit 1 reporting, all accounted for, sir. Never say all accountant. Okay, all accounted for, sir. So let me report it again. You can either reply Unit 1 reporting, all present, sir, or Unit 1 reporting, 2 absent, sir, or 3 absent, sir. And the third one, Unit 1 reporting, all accounted for, sir. I hope you can remember this is the proper way to reply to the captain, to the club director during the roll call or the attendance report. Now, when the counselor is not there and there's no junior counselor, he can be the so-called counselor to make sure that his unit does their homework, to do their honor requirement and so on. So the captain will stand in as the counselor. This is very rare. Usually one of the club officers will stand in, but this sometimes does happen, where the captain can stand in for the club counselor when he or she is absent. All right, now we come to the last one, the unit scribe. The unit scribe is actually the unit secretary and the treasurer, right? So he or she will have to record during every week on his unit book how many people are present and whether they have been submitting their club fees, because the treasurer, because this is important, it's part of the merit system. And the unit treasurer the scribe, okay, the scribe takes over the captain's duty in his absence. So if the captain is missing, then the scribe takes over, and he or she will be carrying the flag, the unit flag, the guidon. All right, as I said, one of his duty is to collect the subscription or the club fees, right, and record the attendance. All right, okay, so that's it for all of the officers. Now to close this particular section, let me talk about the qualities needed for good Pathfinder leadership. These are what I came up with, okay, especially for club officers. I'm talking about the club directors, the deputies, the counselors, and the instructors, right? Especially for the directors onwards. Love God supremely. This person really should be somebody who really loves God. And also love kids sincerely. You really have a passion for the kids you're working with, all right? By the way, this is the officer course I taught, so that's why you notice all of them are saluting during the officer's course, okay? Now, serve with enthusiasm. Yes, a good director or good leader must be enthusiastic in whatever you do, whether teaching drill and marching or teaching in honor or calling the club to order and so on. You must serve with enthusiasm during the period of time when you were given that responsibility. You should be someone with emotional stability, not someone with a bad temper who's very extremely impatient and so on, easy to snap at people. Oh my, you should have a very good sense of a good emotional control. And because our activities, the Lord is outdoor, a good Pathfinder leader should enjoy the great outdoors and try to study and understand the characteristic of kids. Especially if you attended Pathfinder Staff Training, you begin to understand kids better. And a good leader would learn and know a variety of skills, right? He learns the drill and marching, he learns not tying and first aid, so that he can help impart this to his members. Develop the ability to organize well, all right? Every club officers should learn to be a good organizer, a good leader, because eventually they may become club directors. And a good director maintain pleasant relationship with fellow staff members, right? Because if you are the club director, you should be able to coordinate, get your club officers to work together. Radiate a warm presence that makes you approachable. This is important. Your Pathfinder should be able to come to you and they should love you because you're so friendly, you're so approachable. It's always good to have a good sense of humor, all right, to be able to laugh, crack jokes, and occasionally to be laughed at, especially when the Pathfinder teases you and make fun of you, okay? I mean, just laugh together with them. And a good Pathfinder leader will be resourceful and be creative, always finding new ways to do things. All right, so this marks the end of this section.